All right. What up, podcast? Be the creator on the mic here. Today is a special day. I'm having my first guest in the Creative Spark, the podcast, Daniel Dorta. How do I read your last name, bro?
Yeah, it's Dorta. It's like Dora with a T before the A.
Perfect. Daniel Dorta, here we have you here. He's a music photographer. I hope I described you right. But yeah, I'm going to ask you
Yes.
to introduce yourself. So feel free to do that. But before that, guys, I just checked the stats on the previous podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in from so many different countries. We have 36 countries on the board after first two episodes. So I'm really glad that we're reaching all over the world. And without further ado, Daniel, mic's on you, man. Introduce yourself to the podcast.
Well, hello. Yeah. So my name's Daniel. I'm a music and portrait photographer based out of Toronto, Canada. I've been doing photography, like mainly photography, since like high school. It kind of started out as a hobby. I took a communication technology program in high school, which kind of like was about video and photography. And that's kind of what like made me fall in love with photography. And then when it came to like going to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So I just kind of took my hobby and ran with it. And what, we're 6 years later and it's worked out for me. Now it's my full time job. So,
That's legit, man. So I want to ask you because you said you always study photography, and like when you come to the college, you said you have no idea what to do with your life. So what was the point? Like even you studied so much into like photography, visual arts. When was the point
yeah.
when you say I think I can do this as a full time? Like I thought, like if I would study like photography 6 years or 5 years, something like that, I would probably go full time myself right at that time. So when was the turning point for you?
Where was my turning point? Well, a few years ago, my mom, she got the offer. So her ex-boyfriend ended up moving out to Vancouver. So I'm from Toronto. Vancouver's on the other side of the country. And my mom and my sister were both gonna, or well, we were all gonna move to Vancouver with her and her boyfriend because I was still living at home. And I was like, I'm only 20. I'm gonna go wherever my mom's going, right? Mama's boy. And at the exact same time when like my mom was figuring out like moving from Mississauga to Ontario to Vancouver, I started like making friends on Instagram, and then I started. So pretty much, I grew up in Mississauga. Sorry, backstory, and then I moved to Toronto, which
Mhm.
Mississauga is like on the outskirts of Toronto, probably like a 30-minute drive. And when my mom was planning on moving to Vancouver, I started traveling into Toronto a lot and kind of started making a circle of friends that were all photographers. And I started to kind of make a name for myself. And when it came to my mom being like, oh, we're finally selling the house and we're moving to Vancouver, I was like, oh crap, I don't want to do that because I just started like making friends. I just started like making a name for myself. And I didn't want to just like get up and start from new in a whole different province that I literally don't know anybody. So I think that was the turning point when I was like, Mom, I need to like move to Toronto. I know you probably don't, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll figure it out. And a few years later, from living in Toronto, I got to do it full time.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, like there's sometimes like where you gotta like when it's family, you gotta explain your game plan a little bit. Otherwise,
Oh,
they won't let you do it,
100%.
man.
But I didn't know my game plan. My game plan was like all over the place because like from like when I decided to move to Toronto, I had a job in Toronto. Was working on a boat. I was gonna move in with a makeup artist that I was living with. And get this, a month before I was supposed to move to Toronto, my makeup artist friend said I can't move in because she's moving out of Toronto. And then I got fired a week before I was moving to Toronto.
Oh my
So I
god.
had a month to find a place to live in Toronto, and I had a week to find a job because I got fired before moving to Toronto. So my entire story is kind of crazy in that sense, but like I kind of like working under pressure. I feel like that's what pushes me to keep going and like thriving. And I think that's one of the things that like helps me in photography is that it's one of those jobs that you need to like really, really put your head in and like be hungry for. Because if you're not hungry, you're just gonna sit down and not do anything. Right? Like
Yeah.
jobs don't come to you. You have to go to the jobs.
Yeah, that's a crazy start, man. Like sometimes I describe it like I think it resembles to yours. Like sometimes it's like you get into the car if you know where we're gonna go, but like you don't know the roadmap of it. Like you kind of decide on the
No, you
way
don't.
which
Yeah,
side you're gonna take. Like the end point is there. You kind of know where you want to go, but like you don't know how to go. So you're just gonna jump on the car and start driving. That's I feel like that's
exactly.
how it
It's one of
started for you.
no, for sure. It's one of those things that you like. There's no book, there's no thing that you can read that can tell you how to get to that certain spot. And yeah, you can see so many YouTube videos on how this person, that person made it to the top, but I think everyone's story is so different and everyone's life is different. Like you meet people, like your story is so different than anyone else's. So for you to think that you can do the same thing that so and so did
No way.
is kind of like impossible because like you don't know what they've been through to get there, and you're not
Right.
going to go through the same things that that person did. So it's kind of like you just have to live your life and figure it out in your own crazy like type of way.
Yeah, it's crazy as like expecting like watching a bodybuilder and giving you a blueprint for a fitness plan and expect it's like, oh, I did it for 3 weeks. Why I'm not looking different? Like
Exactly.
that guy has got so many other elements in his life. But anyways, back
Oh,
on the point,
100%.
man. Like so you're a music photographer, right? So how did you involve in the music industry? You were a musician, or do you sing or play, or you just like that because
I
you want
that was kind of like so I grew up with music. I'm Spanish. Grew up, or didn't grow up, but my mom is South American. I'm South American. And I've
to involve?
always grown up with music around me. My mom was a dance instructor growing up. And she was always the type of person that would like turn up the volume instead of turning down the volume. Like, even if it was rap and there was swearing, she didn't care. She liked the music. So, like, music was always like integrated into my life. And when I started in photography, I was kind of doing a lot of everything. So like when I started, I wanted to be a wedding photographer. Then I wanted to become a editorial fashion photographer. And then just being around so many different people in one of the biggest cities in the country, I happened to be connected with this or not makeup artist, this hairdresser who had done like photo shoots with a bunch of my other friends. And she just knew me. And I just got to a point where I was like, I'm not making any money in fashion. Fashion industry in Toronto is just nothing. There's nothing here in Toronto. Like, if you're doing fashion in Toronto, you're not making any money because there's already a handful of photographers who are the biggest in Toronto and they're getting all the work, right? So then when I realized that, I had posted onto Instagram and I was like, hey, I want to work with musicians because I love music. Can't make music, but I love music and I do photography. So let's see if I can combine both. And back to the hairdresser that I was talking about earlier, she had actually worked on a TV show here in Toronto called The Launch. So it's kind of like our Canadian version of like American Idol or something like that. Not as great, but kind of like that. And she messaged me and she was like, hey, I worked on this TV show with a bunch of musicians. Let me connect you with them. And honest to God, she was the nicest person ever because instead of just like sending me their profiles, she actually started like a DM conversation between me, her, and the musician. So it was kind of like she was like backing me up and like giving me credit. And that's kind of where I like snowballed, where I just started working with anybody and everyone in the music industry. And then I started at the same time I started a series. I started a series where I was shooting with a bunch of people trying to get them out of their comfort zone and shooting them in very different like facial expressions and a lot of different portraits. And
Love that.
that's where that series and working with the musicians, I just like I want to work with everyone for the series. And then one thing led to another, word of mouth, and now I'm shooting music. That's
Love
all
that.
I do.
Love the last part. All right, love the last part. Okay, I want your opinion on something. So obviously, man, your way of growing in photography and then my way starting into this, they're so different. Okay, like you're almost trained. You worked on it, so many experience, and you learn from it. And
Yeah.
I'm literally a self-taught. I'm literally a self-taught. Like and
Yeah.
I'm like 4 years ago before today, like during my master's degree, I have no idea what photography is. I literally barely can take pictures with my phone, and like my girlfriend even hates me for like taking bad photos with the phone in the
Of
travels.
course.
It's like I can barely take some photos, and I'm literally a self-taught after I just got introduced to this. So, what's your opinion about being self-taught and starting by all like media schools, like art school, photography lessons, like what's your opinion between these two?
The thing with being self-taught is you have to be very self-driven because it is a very lonely kind of world where you do everything kind of by yourself. So like being self-taught, you really have to put everything into it and push yourself. The thing with going to school for it is you have professors, you're surrounded by your classmates. So everyone's doing the same thing. So you kind of have this motivation with everyone around you to continue going and pushing, and you get to see other people in your class kind of doing crazy things and cool things, and that's kind of what motivates you. With me and why I went to school for it is one, because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I was also kind of lost. I was 18. I went straight out of high school into college for photography, and I realized that's not what a lot of people do. A lot of people in my program are a lot older than me. Why? Because photography isn't a thing that people go, like, that's not their first choice, right? They want to do something like something bigger so that they can have a backup just in case. I didn't have a backup, so I went straight into photography, and it really pushed me because I don't think at the time I was very self-driven. So having all those professors, having all those classmates, everyone around me really pushed me to who I am today. And I think if it wasn't for if it wasn't for me going to school for photography, I wouldn't be who I am today, because like I literally went into the program not knowing how to change the lens on my camera. Like, just think about that.
Got it. Solid answer. I like the answer. I think you already answered my next question, but I still want to ask the follow up for this. So this is for the audience who can at least relate to this question, because I got so many questions sometimes from like newbies and asking, especially for filmmakers and some photographers also. They're like in their 20s and they're asking like, if I want to be a media person or like photographer, videographer, whatever you name it, like why would I pay like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 a year for a film school, or in your case, a photography school? Like, what is, so in that follow up question, what is your biggest pro for studying, and like what's the biggest advantage to study in a school for media, visual arts, or photography?
I would say there's two really big pros. One, the biggest is the equipment. That's a huge thing. Like when you go to school for photography, you're given a lot of equipment. So we actually had this like this I don't know how to call it, but this like room where we were able to like rent out any lens we wanted. So you could have an 85, a 200 mil, whatever type of lens you wanted to rent out for your photo shoots. You had the option to do that. We also had Hasselblads, which are like a $50,000 camera.
Yeah.
Now, like realistically nowadays, like I would never have the chance to use that. But when I was in school, I had the chance to use that type of equipment. So like that's a huge thing. Another thing is you're able to learn a lot of like different styles of photography. So we were doing landscape photography, we were doing product photography, we were doing portrait photography, wedding photography. So like you're able to learn a lot about a lot of different avenues of photography. So I think those two things. And then another thing would be the structure of how the program is run. Specifically, my program, the way that we kind of worked everything was we had 1 week of lectures and then another week of shooting. So we were given basically a task 1 week. Hey, you have to do so and so type of photo shoot. And then the next week, you have to come up with a concept. You have to find someone to shoot with. You have to find a location, and you have to shoot it. So I feel like that kind of structure led me to like be able to come up with like concepts for clients when you're in a short period of time. So I feel like those three things kind of like helped me become who I am today, because those things like I don't think you can really do by yourself unless you're, like I said again, very self-driven, and you can really push yourself to like bang out content, learn a lot on the internet.
Got it, man. Yeah, that was a great answer. I agree with a lot of parts of it. Even that I'm a self-taught. Like for me, the answer actually was like the biggest con for a school. Like I would like today, like I'm asking myself, what do I lack the most? I think it's the community, community of photographers, community of like trainers, masters, mentors, like, things like that. You can't really find it like once you like step on the outside. It's really hard to find it. So I think schools brings all these people together in a structured forum and give you the chance, like, they're in your service. That's kind of cool. Like maybe not the equipment for me, but it will be probably the people for me. Yeah, definitely, I agree on
Of
that.
course, but I feel like there's still cons about being in going to school for photography, because like at the end of the day you have one professor who's grading your artwork. And if you know anything about photography or anything creative, it's very subjective. So this one professor can tell you the photo you took or the video you took is bad, but then you can have another 10 people tell you that it's amazing. Right? Like you do TikTok, I do TikTok. How many people tell you in the comments, this video sucks? And then you have how many other people telling you, this video is amazing,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
It's
tired of.
very subjective. So to have that one professor dictate how amazing you are is kind of weird. I personally don't like that. And I feel like if you're in school for photography, don't try to please your professor. Just try to learn what you can out of it and then what you can do from what you learned.
Yeah, that's the one of the cons that I have, like against the schooling system, and like if, regardless of anything, whether it's film or photography. So it's like I always think about this thing, don't compare yourself any others, or like don't give it too much of a like priority on others' opinions. Like even if it's the master or teacher or whatever, like
Yeah.
uh they know one day that you'll improve like 10 times better than them. Like everybody knows.
Oh, 100%.
It's just a process, so don't just take their word for it. Like that's one thing that I just like, the system teaches you to like, shapes you somehow. Like that's one thing I'm not a big fan of. But other than that, the first one is I'm totally agree with that. And the next question, bro, I got for you. It's one of the last formal questions I'm gonna ask you for this.
Go for it.
So this is for your music industry technique. So how did you work your way up when you started? Okay, you explain your first memory on that, but like, how did you work your way up? I'm not talking about this 2020 madness, obviously. Like, yeah, this doesn't count. Obviously, you had a lot
Of
of hard time, especially
course.
for people who now knows you're in Canada, which is dealing this really in a
Yeah,
hard
it's
way now.
awful.
So I'm not talking about this year, but overall, like, once you started, how did you work your way up? Like, how did you find new connections, build a new network? How was it?
Like I said before, it all started with like I did a series where I was taking like different portraits of different people, and I wanted to like grow that series. So I wanted to do it with a bunch of people, and that's at the same time when I got connected with that friend who worked on that TV show, and she just started connecting me with so many different musicians, and it was just through like Instagram, to be honest, just messaging so many different people, and then just seeing when those people had shows or seeing when there was like an event in my city and I would go to those events. I was always huge on showing face at events. I think if you're always at these events and people are always seeing your face, they're eventually gonna hire you because
Mm.
you're the person they're seeing all the time. So when they're thinking, oh, I need to shoot a photo for my album cover, or I need photos for Instagram, look, oh, who am I thinking about? Oh, Daniel, because I see him at every event, I see him at every concert. So that was my thing. Like I was pushing myself to be at every open mic, every like event that I could be at. And that's one thing that I kind of like pushed myself. And then I just started like emailing like music blogs over the internet. I would just email them. And that's kind of what pushed me into getting into like the bigger shows. So I would find like the music blogs in my city, and they're the ones that got me into shooting like the bigger shows because they have the connections. So I
Mhm.
would email them. I'm like, hey, this is who I am. I want to shoot so and so's concert. And they're like, oh my god, perfect. They get free photos for their online blog, and I get to say that I shot this big artist.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, like just to get an information on that, because I never shot the concerts. I shot a lot of album covers in my studio, but like, how do you get a stage access? Do you get it straight from the artist, or like you somehow make your way up into the club and then get to know the owners
I
or there?
so yeah, so like I said, I message online music blogs.
Hmm.
So they're like online magazines for music, and that's kind of the way of getting into shooting like the bigger concerts because they're the ones that have the connections with the promoters that are putting on the shows. So that's a huge thing to do. I will also give you another secret that maybe not a lot of people know.
Mhm.
If you go to Facebook and you search your favorite artist and you go to their like Facebook page, you can go to their like information on their Facebook page and it will most likely have their manager's email or their PR manager's email. And if you message them, that's a huge way of trying to get into access of getting
Mhm.
access to shooting the show. But those are kind of the ways, unless you kind of know the artist. That's another thing of how I've done it is like, if I know the artist, I'll just like message them, hey, do you need someone to shoot a concert? And then I get in that way. Another thing that I've also done is I find music venues. So I'll find like the small music venues in my city and I'll go to their calendar. So I'll go to their website, I'll go to their calendar, and I'll find out who's playing the next month. So from the first of the month to the last of the month, I find out who's playing. I find out their emails and I will mass email or mass message them on Instagram,
Love
and
that.
I just start messaging everybody. Hey, I hear you're having a show on so and so date at so and so venue. Do you need a photographer?
Love that. This is the exact same thing I said on my previous podcast episode. You guys got it, the exact PR and hustle strategy if you guys are in the music field.
Oh,
Okay.
100%.
Wow.
It's hard because it's a lot of like reaching out, and it is a numbers game. Like if you reach out to enough people, someone's gonna say yes. So don't get discouraged if you're messaging 1,000 people and only 10 people respond. That's still a good amount of money if you're getting paid for that, right?
Yes,
So that's the
sir.
thing. And if you do it enough times, through word of mouth, you're just gonna eventually start getting so much work that you don't have to do that, right? You start off doing that, and in the long run, it just kind of starts doing itself.
Yeah. You got it. Okay, bonus question. Have you have any side hustle that you actually make a little side income, or like do you actually go full focus, full time into this? Do you have something on the side you do for yourself?
Not really. I'm kind of like all into photography, to be honest.
Okay.
I
All right,
don't
then
see myself.
tell me that what would it be if you have anything on the side that you would like to do it, like if you have time or focus, let's just make a theory. Like what would it be? What would you like to just like, work on it like once a day or something like, makes you a little side income?
Um, I mean, this is gonna be kind of funny, but crypto, I would love to get into like that kind of scene. I have a friend
Yes.
right now who told me that he invested in a few things, and I feel like having passive income is huge, especially as a photographer when like you don't know when you're making money, you don't know how much you're making. It's huge to have passive income, and I know you're into that. I've seen your clubhouse stuff.
You see, okay. Yeah, I'm really passionate about investing. Like better it's stock or
Yeah,
crypto is
investing's
bigger.
huge. I feel like everyone's getting into it, and that's something that I need to get into. It's just kind of scary when you don't have a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah.
So you're kind of investing and you're kind of scared about it. I know investing is like you got to be okay with losing money at the same time. I don't know if I'm okay with that right now, especially being in a pandemic where
Right.
like I'm barely working.
Mhm.
But eventually, when I do have enough money in the bank, I will be trying to invest in whatever I can.
No, yeah, but like as far as it's not a mainstream as something like I don't know GameStop, Dogecoin, or like something that's all over the news. Unless it's not that, I haven't seen many people in the creative fields that are like investing or like making their money work for them. Like that's I think one of the differences I got, and I'm trying to put into this podcast a lot more because I come from a lot different background, and unlike a lot of people that I know here as photographers, videographers, or whatever, it's like I didn't have a creative background, so I'm still improving that perspective. But at the same time, I have a 4 or 6 years of business background where I got so many market knowledge, so many things to like, I know how to make the money work for us down there. So it's something that I'm trying to teach people because it is so hard. Like you work your way a really long time, but like people like in my audience, like they're mostly people like 1 to 3 years of experience in this, and in your first 3 5 years it's really hard to get in a point that doing only this as full time. I know many people are better doing some side jobs, some working in service industry, some just trying to do something, some trying to make some NFTs now. That's good. So, there's so many side hustles they're trying to do that. That's why I'm trying to, push this under the table a little bit as entrepreneurial knowledge. But anyways, man, love your answers. So thank you for that. And Okay, I want to do a lightning round. That's like, I love
Go
to
for
doing
it.
this. Any of the people I connect, I love doing that. So I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions, quicker answers. Some of them are fun. Let's go. Are you ready?
Yes, go for it.
All right, awesome. So you're a photographer. So this comes for you. Studio or outdoor?
Outdoor, but I want to learn studio a lot more.
All right. You got your own studio, by the way? Just real quick.
No, my bedroom.
That's a good studio. The good studio is top.
Yeah,
All right. I know a passion for old cameras. So film camera or mirrorless tech?
mirrorless,
Mirrorless.
mirrorless, mirrorless DSLR.
All right. Very good. Uh, all right. Tell me your favorite song.
My favorite song. Wow, that's a hard one because as someone who really likes music,
Yeah, you're in the
I
music.
listen to like everything. Like I go from like country to like screamo. So it's kind of like all over the place right now. I'll say anything by Machine Gun Kelly. That's not the name of the song, just anything by him because I really like his music right now. So anything off of his new album.
Got it. All right. Cool. And next one. Okay, this is a very hard one. Music or photography? Choose as a hobby. Choose one as a hobby. Music or photography?
Photography because I can't make music.
Okay. Okay, that's a good answer. I wasn't expecting that. All right. Unexpected. All right, let's go. Favorite decade from like 70s, 80s, 90s to millennials. Favorite decade? Would you live
Let's
in?
go.
Like,
Let's go 90s. I grew up in 96. I don't feel like I was able to like learn about the 90s, but I wish I kind of did. I wish I grew up in the 90s. I feel like that was a good
90s
era.
gang. Wait, when did you grow up? When?
96.
96? Okay, yeah, you kind of like late 90s. Got it.
The late 90s. So like by the time I was old enough to remember anything,
Yep,
it
same,
was
same,
not in the 90s.
same. All right, I know you're using Nikon, so I'm gonna ask a different part. Canon or Sony?
Sony. I want to switch to Sony because I love my Nikon. The reason I got into Nikon is because my school was sponsored by Nikon. So we
Ooh.
got a huge deal. So like my first DSLR, funny enough, my first DSLR was when I went into college.
Okay.
So
that's-
I was shooting with, can I, 1 second, I'm just gonna bring it.
Yeah, go
I
ahead,
was-
man. Here we go. Live action coming up podcast. I love that.
I was shooting with this
All right.
Nikon where you can't even remove the lens. Like
That's
this
like
was
a
my
made-
camera.
Looks like a toy
Yeah.
camera from here. Cool.
That's what I was shooting with. And because my school was sponsored by Nikon, I got a deal with the Nikon camera that I have now. So I went into that. But the thing I've realized throughout the years, Nikon sucks at video. It is awful for video. Like if you want to get into video, please do not get a Nikon. So I really want to switch into Sony because I do want to get into video and photo because I feel like as a music photographer, if you can do both, that is huge. And you can make a lot more money that way too. So
it's not me stating, guys. I didn't trash any Nikon this time. People know me on like TikTok. It's like I'm trashing Nikon. It's like not me.
oh,
doing
I
it.
trash every other like I trash Canon the most because everyone gets so upset about it. I'm kidding. At the end of the day, I love every type of camera. I don't really know enough about Canon to really hate on it. I just kind of find it funny. And the funny thing is, when I first started on TikTok back in March of last year, everyone was hating on Nikon. Everybody. Every photographer I was following was hating on Nikon. So I was like, okay, you guys are getting views off of hating off Nikon. Now let me get views off of hating on Canon. And it worked.
It works. That was kind of a trend on TikTok last year. I remember that pretty fairly. But yeah, respectfully, guys, no offense or no hate on any Nikon people or
Oh,
something.
not at all.
But
I
yeah.
love Nikon, but you know, Sony is where you kind of need to be if you want to upgrade, in my opinion. It's
Yeah.
also amazing for low light, and as a music photographer shooting concerts, you're hit with the worst type of lighting. So if I can have a good camera that can do amazing low light, that's a plus on my books.
Bet. All right, next one coming up. Apple or the others?
Oh, Apple, 100% Apple. As a creative, you kind of need an Apple. I feel like integrating a Mac computer with your iPhone, it's just, you need it.
Got it. Yeah.
And shooting TikToks on your iPhone. Like I started shooting TikToks on my Android, and no, you cannot. I feel like the Apple has something to do with the applications on your phone, because when you shoot them on an Android, it looks like you're shooting on a potato. But then when you shoot them on an iPhone, it looks like you're shooting them on like a 4K camera.
By the way, there are some specific phones from Samsung. I'm not gonna lie. Their quality like beats Apple with single-handed. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I see some influencers friends of mine, both from TikTok and Instagram. They got sponsored by Samsung, and they introduced their latest phones. I don't recall the models. I can't name it, but
Yeah.
the quality, the zoom quality, and like the sharpness and the settings, everything's much better than the iPhone. But
Okay.
overall, I'm an Apple guy as well. So overall, I'm an Apple guy too.
Yeah, same.
So yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I agree with you. All right, your favorite place you ever traveled, and you can name anywhere in Canada too, because you're in almost like a heaven
My
land.
favorite place I've ever traveled to. Ooh, this is a tough one because like I love a lot of places for a lot of different things. I haven't been to many places, but I mean because you're from there, I think New York kind of hits home because it's one of those places that is a lot like Toronto. It's just I feel like it's Toronto on crack, to be honest. If I could move anywhere in the world, I think New York would be one of them because it's massive, it's huge, and it feels like home to me. Um, Vancouver is also beautiful, so I feel like Vancouver is beautiful because of the entire like nature aspect of it. You
So
go on so
clean.
many hikes, the mountains, everything about that. But overall, I would probably say New York because it feels like home.
Yeah. All right. For the last question, I got a personal pick for this. I'm gonna tell you at the end. But your local favorite spot you photographed in Canada, anywhere in Canada. It might be any city, any state.
Bunsen Lake in British Columbia. I made a TikTok about this. It was like a bucket list item for me. Like, I really wanted to shoot at this place for like the past like 5 years. And I've been to Vancouver, or I've been to BC 3 times. And every single time, my mom and my sister were like, no, we don't really want to go. We don't, and I don't drive. So like, I couldn't take myself there. So this year, I got to go to Bunsen Lake in British Columbia. And it was honestly one of the most beautiful places I've been to. And the reason I liked it so much is because it became like an Instagram spot. Every like Instagram for like every big Instagrammer would go to this spot and shoot it. And if you realistically think about it, it's not the biggest or most extravagant place, but it's just one of those places that like I dreamt of going to for the longest time, and finally getting to go to that spot was amazing.
You said like, can you spell it for us, like for the people watching, like Bountain or Mountain?
Bunsen, so Bunzen Lake.
Awesome. So I'll Google it as
Bunsen.
well.
It's a little weird, yeah. It's a little weird. Bunsen Lake. I can probably show you the photo right now what I took because it's on my Instagram.
Meanwhile,
So
let me
it
tell you
was
my personal choice. By the way, mine is also from Canada. This is one of my bucket shot spots.
sorry, this is the place.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That
so
looks so chill, man. That looks so chill. I would love
oh
to just
wait.
sit in front of that view and wow,
Yeah, so it was really cool.
it looks dope. All right, like my personal favorite, and I don't know which district it was, but it is Moraine Lake, also in
Oh, that's in Alberta.
Alberta, right? Okay,
Oh,
Calgary.
100%. If I
Okay,
100% agree with you.
yeah, it is my
Uh,
bucket shot spot in Canada. One day I'm gonna make it there. I've been waiting it for the last year or two.
have
So
you seen Peter McKinnon's video?
the bucket shot.
Yes, okay. Yes.
It was absolutely insane. Big shout out to Peter McKinnon. That's the real goat of photography. Oh, I
And he's
actually,
from Ontario.
yeah.
He's from here.
I told you I
Shout out
was
to
a
Peter.
self-taught, right? Like actually, his videos make me started being interested in all this stuff, like doing YouTubing, filming vlogs, and all that stuff. Like I was an amateur photographer like 3 years ago when I first found him, and it was like, dude, this guy, like, damn, like I gotta get on this, like all these vlogs and fun stuff because I was traveling a lot. Yeah, that guy inspires me a lot, and he's
Yeah,
from
he's
Canada.
insane. I feel like he inspires a lot of people in the in our field because he just does things. He
Yeah,
doesn't think about it. He just does them. And it's
it's
not the hardest things. Like he's not doing these massive big things where you need so much money. He's just doing them. Anyone could do them, but a lot of us are just too afraid to do it and to get out of our comfort zone to do those things. So I feel like he's a huge inspiration for a lot of us.
That is the absolute reason I love him, and I'm trying to do the same thing for, like, most of the people. If you see my TikToks, I'm trying to do the same for studio people here. Like, a lot of people have so much high quality production setups and all these good fancy gadgets, but like I have a one table from Costco for $5, and I have no setups, no assistants, nothing in the studio, and I'm shooting all those stuff. So
Well,
one thing I'm trying to do,
you can make it work with a like least amount of equipment.
yeah.
Like I've done so many things with the least amount of equipment, and it's worked. Like I shot a wedding a few years ago when I wanted to be a wedding photographer on literally strictly a 50 millimeter lens, and it worked. But you ask any big wedding photographer, like, no, you can't do it on a 50 millimeter. You need a 70 to 200, or you need a 35 millimeter lens. Like, no, if you know your equipment and you know how to use it, you can make it work.
Yeah, it's
Like
just people have to. Yeah.
I've seen so many people on TikTok that are just like, I think it was a huge trend last year during like the beginning of quarantine, where everyone's like, oh, doing a photo shoot in your bedroom or doing a photo shoot without leaving your house. And these people were getting pretty good shots of the most random objects. Like they would grab like their water bottle or their Pepsi can, and they would do like a really cool video or photo shoot of that in their kitchen using like cardboard backdrops or whatever they had in their house, and it looked cool and they made it work.
Those are legit stuff. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them actually work. Some of them, like, yeah, I think people have to find balance between the two codes. Like, gear doesn't matter, or you gotta have the best equipment. It's like both of them are, for me, it's wrong. Like, like you gotta find a balance based on your budget. Like, you still need the gear, like, to support the quality of the fork, but like, you don't need
Yes,
the exact best thing in the market. Like,
but if you don't have the gear, don't stress out about having or needing the gear,
Mhm.
because a lot of people don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So for you to like cry and be like, oh, I can't do it because I don't have the gear. No, you can. You just got to do it with what you have, and you'll make it work. And eventually, you'll get to that point where you have the gear.
Love that quote, man. And I'm gonna end with that quote for this time. Bro, thank you so much for the time. It was an
No
absolute
worries.
pleasure to meeting you. Like, we met on TikTok for the just for the records, like people are listening. We haven't talked ever before. We just chat a little bit on TikTok and on Instagram, but like we never talked before. This was our first face to face. So
Can I
really
also say,
appreciate the
sorry,
time.
before you end it,
Yep.
congratulations on what, 90K on TikTok? That is amazing. I feel like you've been killing it. Can we just talk a little bit about TikTok?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, man.
I feel like you are insane on TikTok. You're killing it. Do you feel like you've grown outside of TikTok thanks to TikTok? If that makes any sense?
Yeah, I have actually grown a different attention outside of TikTok too. So I do manage a lot of social medias. Like, I mean, I have Instagram for sure. I'm managing a Pinterest page for photographers to get like daily inspirations and stuff. Uh, I haven't grown a lot on YouTube, but like I'm starting to grow in a big audience for the podcast right now. We just started this, and I'm like, to be honest, I use TikTok as a big shelf to, like, show people this is what I do. And my main thing on TikTok, I wouldn't say my videos. My main thing on TikTok, I do almost daily live streams, and that's the way I get to connect to those people. And I have now people who are coming every single day, almost like they saying it's one of the best live streams on TikTok. It's like a radio show.
That's
I keep it open
amazing.
for like 2 hours every night, and it's actually really fun to get connected with all those people and then getting them on my podcast. I've seen people from Africa now. I've seen people from all
Jeez.
over from Latin America, Madagascar, like Australia. They're tuning into my lives and they're tuning into my podcast. That's why I turned it to a map challenge and I open a world map. It's like, guys, put a comment down where you guys from, and I mark it on the map. That's how we went. And I track that. And I'm looking at the podcast. It's almost the same countries. It's very interesting, man. Like, so I think my mission is getting people from TikTok to a place that where I can speak longer than 15 seconds and give my message and, like, get people on the board like you, like from the community, for people I know, give the, explain their hustle, their process, so that all these people that are watching me, they can relate to this. So that's the goal of everything that I'm doing here. I'm not doing it for, like, I'm not monetizing too much this. So it's basically for community here. I have other platforms I monetize, and I have brands coming out right now, like lots of different merch coming out. So maybe I'll monetize a
Wow.
little bit, but the overall goal is always the community. It's the brand value for me. So that's what I can tell you.
Of course, no, that's amazing. I feel like TikTok for me has become the only thing I can really do right now because like hashtag pandemic still in lockdown. Um, but yeah, that's been like the biggest thing for me is I think as a photographer, we're always behind the camera. And I don't shoot like YouTube videos, so I'm like not like a Peter McKinnon where like I'll put myself in front of the camera. So I feel like the thing with TikTok that like really helped me is I was able to put a face to my photography. I feel like throughout the years, a lot of people would see me on Instagram, but not know who I am. So it's like, oh, this photo's amazing, but the person's not amazing. If that makes any sense, because they didn't know the person, they just knew the photo. So I feel like with TikTok, and something you can attest to now when you're building your community, you kind of feel more of an attachment to your photography and the work you're creating because now people know you as a person. And
Yeah.
that's something that like it really got me out of like my comfort zone and really made me want to like speak more about what I'm doing and why I do it because now people care about me instead of just, oh, cool, that's a cool photo. I don't care about the person who took it. I just care about the photo,
Yeah.
right?
Like anyone could do just like, put a camera and just show it. Here are my photos, guys. Like I done that too, but I just didn't want to leave it there. Like, because my whole goal in this is like, I'm all about inspiration. Like, before being a creatives, I'm like, I love teaching people. I love inspiring a lot of folks around the world. And like, I love connecting, building communities. That's something I'm passionate about. So TikTok serves me for a purpose, but like I want to get some of these people out of from there and maybe take them to the YouTube or to Spotify. I don't care which platform they will find me. It's just like, it's just what matters. They find me somehow and they listen to me longer than 15 seconds. That's what I'm trying to do here, and hopefully we'll get there. We're about to hit 100,000. We're on 98,000 now. We'll see. So
Congratulations.
thank you so much for it. Yeah, after the podcast, I'm gonna keep you on the line, man, just to say goodbye. But for this, I'm gonna end the podcast right here, guys. Here you guys
Sweet.
have Daniel Dorta. We had on the podcast as a music photographer. I'm gonna keep all our handles on the videos on YouTube. And for the ones on listening us on Spotify, just quickly spell your Instagram, bro.
So it's D. Why did I like freeze? I was like, what is my Instagram? Honestly, like what? I was like, am I spelling my name or my Instagram? So it's Dorta's Photography, Dortas Photography, and yeah, you can find me anywhere on the internet by just that.
Awesome, guys. So yeah, you can find Daniel on Instagram. He just spelled his name. Go follow him. And if you guys haven't followed us yet, go on Spotify. Check us up as Creative Spark. And you can also connect with me personally on TikTok and Instagram as Be the Creator. And thank you all so much for tuning in. That's it for now. Be blessed. Have an amazing week and be out.